Good evening, Are we ready? Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Budget Committee on this November 14th, 2024. We're starting the meeting at 7:06 p.m. I almost said a.m. Can I have the roll call, please?
Karen White.
Here.
Lauren Schlurf.
Here.
Kate Knudsen.
Here.
Christy O'Clair. Catherine Consalvo. Sarah Dolce.
Here.
Sue Sherman. Sabrina Alberg. Julie Hammond.
Here.
Liz Costa.
Here. Could we please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have the approval of the last meeting's minute. Can I, when you're ready, a motion and a second, and any corrections?
Make a motion to approve the October 24th meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any corrections? All those in favor? 5 in favor, 1 abstention. We have, anybody have any correspondence this week? Okay. And now we have, No, okay, and delegates and individuals, we have 1 person speaking, Mr. Downing. I will allow you 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, good evening, everybody. John Downey with Sandown. Just checking in on the committee here to see, a friend of mine has submitted an right to know on some CTE programs. And earlier, there was a submission for the budget for the high school. And the submission was asking for more money in funding due to expected higher enrollment and students going for CTE. And we're trying to figure out, well, this right to know was submitted asking for the amount of students and cost per student attending the CTE. And the response that was given back was that more information needed to be found from other, from the places that the children were attending the CTE. Now, the confusion is if we don't know the numbers right away, how many students are attending and what the cost is per student, how are we asking for more money in the budget and requesting more money in the budget if we don't know what we're actually spending right now? So,
Can I answer that question, Liz?
is there any clarity we can give?
I would prefer no give and take back and forth. I'd like to keep it just like,
I completely understand.
Okay.
We're just trying to get some clarity
and I understand that. I believe, who is at Student Services? Are they speaking this evening?
Anyone can contact myself or Maria directly.
Okay.
I actually just this afternoon responded to the email to the request to know because I
Okay,
just
so
responded.
that
this
information has gone out.
understood. And then there's the other thing that I'm sure everybody has gotten their tax bills. I'm sure everybody is relieved. And it is constant effort by everybody to keep on top of the budget and get it down. And it's been a huge relief for every single resident. And if you look around, you're seeing and hearing from everybody how excited they are. I really, really hope everybody understands, though, this was a temporary relief because of circumstances. And I would urge this committee to be vigilant, very vigilant, in the same pace to try to keep that budget as low as it was. Because some of these constituents, they're not going to realize what's going to come in June because it's going to be another big shock. So I'm hoping that we really put some emphasis on what's in this current budget. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Administrative report.
Absolutely, Liz. Maria's going to open up with 2 pieces. One is around tax rates. The second is about health insurance. And then I'll also have a few things to present as well, Liz.
Okay, thank you.
So you see in your packages, I included the tax rates for the 4 towns. It's this chart that is up here. So we have the comparison between 23 and 24 tax rates, the variance for each of the towns, and I just put the impact per $100,000 for each of the towns. So the town of Atkinson had a variance of $1.58, which is $158 on 100,000 home. Danville had a difference of $3.10, which is $310 for per 100K. Plasto had a variance of $1.62. And Sandown had a variance of $3.18. As Mr. Dunn was saying, this is obviously a good impact for all of the towns. It is a temporary impact. As we all know, we have very special circumstances this year surrounding tax rates, so at least it will give all of our residents a break. So if you have any questions about it.
Anything that we can help you understand about the tax rates or its impact on the future budget?
Any questions or concerns? Okay.
The other portion that I wanted to share with you is last week, I shared with you that we had the 2 rates for the health insurance. This year, Health Trust changed the approach, how they do the guarantee maximum rate. So this year, the rate that they're giving us is the actual rate that the insurance will increase. They are not revising that number in the spring. The increase that we have right now is actually what the increase will be for 2026.
So it's what we're gonna pay, not
Yes.
this, it might be this, and then
And
later
then
on.
It's
No.
going to be, okay.
So this year we have one thing that is, one assumption that we have for health insurance for our employees are being discontinued in 2026. So we have about 36% of our employees enrolled in those 3 plans. So in order for us to make the budget, we don't know what other plans this 36% of employees are gonna choose. So we have decided in conjunction with the school board and the superintendent that we just simply gonna go in the conservative way to choose the higher rate, the higher increase,
Mhm.
which is 12.4%, and apply it to those employees that are enrolled in those 3 plans. So, because we don't know which of the 2 they're gonna choose. So I wanted to let you know, that's the assumption that we're gonna use for the health insurance.
Okay,
But-
so we will see some kind of, if they choose one or the other, we may not be paying the 12.4% for
For
everybody.
those employees,
Alright.
exactly. So that's the best approach that we could come up with.
There's also some modesty there too. I mean, the reason for that change is a lot of advocacy across the state from business administrators, pushing folks to understand the impact of school district budgets and how a guaranteed maximum rate is not something that really sets us up for success. So there is a little bit more clarity this year in terms of what that delta may be between insurance now and at the end of the close of the year.
Thank you.
You good? Anything else for health?
No, I think
Okay,
that's
thank you.
all what I needed.
Liz, a couple things just to run through. I just wanted to report back to the budget committee that we have finished kind of meeting with all the board of selectmen in the town. We finished up with Atkinson earlier this month. Again, good conversations, and I just want to continue to reiterate that I hope that that's the beginning of ongoing communication between the town and the school from a central vantage point that we can share information and make better decisions. Want to let you know a vote the school board made at their last meeting. The administration recommended to reduce personnel by 13 support staff positions and 4.5 professional positions. You'll see this in the personnel budget that Marie and I will bring forward to you soon. And that's a cost savings measure that includes salary. The other thing the board entertained at the last meeting was a discussion around CIP. And I'm looking for some direction from the school board at our next meeting about what they want us to bring here in terms of a budgetary recommendation. I reported to you before that the CIP committee has identified 3 projects right now that's totaling $1.3 million. They are meeting again this Monday, so that may or may not be the same recommendation that comes out. But again, I'm going to be back to the school board at the next meeting, get some direction from them, and we will bring you a CIP presentation on the 25th of November.
Okay.
Want to look out and make sure that everyone is understanding some of the dates and what is connected to each of those dates coming up. First is, I know that Maria has offered the tax workshop to members of this committee. I want to encourage you that if you didn't go to that first session, there'll be a second session. The school board has had the same workshop. It's a really good, intimate kind of setting where you can ask a whole lot of questions and understand kind of the flow and get some really good responses from Maria. So I encourage you to attend that next session if you didn't do the first. On the 21st at the school board meeting, we're going to be previewing and describing and giving some education on the default budget. So if you wanted to tune into that meeting or watch us on replay, we'll be talking through the process to compute that. The school board is also meeting on December 5th. I've given you this announcement before. They're going to be at the PAC that evening, and that is going to be with the New Hampshire School Funding Fairness Project. It's got a very light business agenda that evening, but it's really about a 45 to 60-minute presentation. The entire community is welcome to that, and we're going to do some question and answers with those presenters. So it should be an engaging evening. We encourage you to go to that meeting as well. Also on 12/12, we'll be back here at BudCom. Marie and I are looking at that as if there's a meeting that you needed to talk with or get any additional information for what you've already seen, heard, learned through these successive meetings we've had in the fall. We'd like some indication of who and what you'd kind of like to learn and do that evening. But that's the 12th, that's kind of separated. And then on the 16th, we've got the joint meeting with the school board, and we hope to be having a robust conversation around the warrant articles and getting those set. So that's kind of our calendar looking forward. We do have the date of the 26th if the budget committee feels like they need it. 2 more things, Liz, if I could.
Yep.
One is around our health insurance. There's some growing conversation among districts in the state with regard to a specific plan. It's Plan ABSOS. It's billed through Health Trust as a cost savings measure, and a lot of districts, including Timberlane, have incentivized and encouraged employees to move to that plan. We did that with a gauge from Health Trust that was going to be a cost-controlled plan. That plan has risen 41% since fiscal year 22, which is outpacing the rates of the other plans. So I wanted to inform this on a joint letter with 2 other school districts. We're going to ask for an agenda item for us to present to the Health Trust Board so we can at least have a forum to be discussing some of the limitations and impacts it's having us on our budget cycles in our school district. So if there's any information to come that will impact any decisions here, I'll bring them back to this committee and this table this year. And lastly, just wanted to give a comment on the 3 citizen petitions that we've received as warrant articles. Same comments that we gave at the last school board meeting. The first citizens petition deals with looking for a tax cap here in Timberlane. Our legal counsel has reviewed that and feels it's a lawful warrant article at this time. It would need a 3/5 majority to pass. The second one is around terminating the lease purchase agreement. That just needs a simple majority to pass. Again, initial legal feedback is that it's a lawful article. And the third one is rescinding the retention of 5% for the school district, which was a move that we had recently gotten to. All 3 of those have a whole lot of potential significant impacts for the district. The board is going to be consulting their legal counsel further. We're partnering with districts that are in similar situations or have been in similar situations, both myself and Maria reaching out to them and learning from their experiences. We hope both of those sources of information are good information for you when we get back to the joint meeting on the 16th. So you have the information that you need to make decisions on how you feel about each of those warrant articles.
Okay.
Liz, that's all I have this evening, unless there are questions or
Any
things people need.
questions for the superintendent or Maria? Okay, thank you. Next up, any reports of the budget committee for CIP? No.
I report, I think I got the
You
CIP
covered it,
things.
yep, all right. And any other information you'd like to share?
Yeah, covered it pretty well. Again, with those citizen petitions, with those warrant articles that were just looking at legal to be able to get all the information and then bring it back to this, to the joint committees and everything and understand the implications of them.
Okay. Thank you. So next up is new business, technology budget change. Mr. Henderson's gonna talk with us about that.
Ken, we've seen you here before.
Good evening. Yeah, long time no see. So I think a disadvantage of presenting first in this process is that there's more time for things to change before the budget's finalized. And if there's anything that's consistent about technology, that it changes all the time. So with that being said, I'd like to propose an amendment to my budget, an increase of 0.01%, which is a total of $10,750. And the line is 100.1100.738.11.33.4. And the item in question under that line is replacement sonic wall firewalls. We're looking to go from $70,460 to $81,210. Reason why I'm proposing to go up on this is a more enhanced model, more robust model at the middle and high school. They share a firewall. So the good news is I was reviewing this for a good reason with our firewall vendor who got us budgetary pricing. The reason is that we have a new federal grant that's available for firewalls that will pay for 40% of the total cost of the firewalls, which I applied for. Totally expect to get that. And during the time since I last saw you guys, so when I proposed this, is that you guys are probably familiar with cell phone protocols. There's like G3, G4, the latest is G5. Well, Wi-Fi has the same. So currently the current protocol is Wi-Fi 6. Wi-Fi 7 is coming out sooner than expected. This is a kind of recent development. So manufacturers will be baking that into devices, Wi-Fi 7. What does that mean? It means they'll be needing more bandwidth. There's more taxing on the network with these Wi-Fi 7 devices become available. And your firewall is a bottleneck. Your firewall is one device between your network and the internet. It needs to be a pretty robust machine to process that extra bandwidth that's going to be required. So my goal here is, I know we're gonna spend a little bit more money now, but I don't wanna be coming back in a couple of years asking you guys for firewalls again, because that firewall's being brought to its knees because the network is too saturated. So, increased price, but I think the grant will more than cover that, as well as, more than that. I will say the reimbursement timeline on these federal grants is wildly inconsistent. I've done this before. Our last round of firewalls, we got a federal grant, and I literally think it took 2 to 3 years for the check to come in. So I can't explain that. They have all kinds of hoops you need to go through, of course, to apply, and then later to prove that you got the firewalls, you put them in place, you use them as intended. But then the money comes when it comes. So it took a long time to get that reimbursement, but it did come. And it was a decent sized check. So, and these grants, a lot of these grants I deal with anyway, you have to fund up front and pay and then get reimbursed later.
Okay, so any questions for Mr. Henderson, or do we make a motion to?
Can you just say the numbers again one more time, the line items? Like
The line
line
item.
item I see, but
The
actual number that it was 10,000.
It's in,
Yes.
it's in here.
10,750.
At the bottom of this is an explanation of
Oh,
why
okay.
this
Oh, here we are.
request
Yep, sorry.
is- No problem.
10,000, there we go. Okay, that's the number. Wait, so now I'm still confused. But this number in here
So here,
is 81,000? No? Am I-
yeah, because the 10,000 is an increase of what he had already requested
Gotcha.
when he did the presentation.
Yep.
So he had requested 74 and now he's requesting 84.
70 to
One.
81.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
So
I get it,
81.
I get it now.
We need to make a motion to accept the new budget.
I will make that motion to accept the revised technology budget of the new requested amount is $1,059,765.
Second. She can have it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Just one thing, so if we decided, we're like, no, don't do the firewalls now, and you came back later, what would be the way more costly if we waited?
Possibly, we certainly missed out on the grant, so there's that. What prices will be 2 years from now, I don't know, but we are kind of at the end of useful life with the current firewalls.
Okay.
So I could imagine a scenario, sometime next, probably school year, where we start having issues, especially at the middle school, high school with latency. Basically, it would be affecting learning, if students couldn't get into the applications they needed to. So that's the biggest risk, I guess, that I see. I'm waiting.
So some serious impact to student learning is what you're saying.
Possibly, yes, yep.
Thank you. Gonna call the vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for thinking forward, Kim.
Okay, next is student service budget presentation by Ginger Rachel.
So,
Rexel. Oh, that messes me up every
it's
time.
a tricky one. Oh, okay, that's my job.
Student services?
That's me. Okay, so there are relatively few. You can see that my fiscal year 25 voted budget was $277,044.90. I'm requesting an increase in my budget of $22,969.10 this year. Ultimately, the increase that is being requested to my budget is in our budget line that provides financial resources for other LEAs within the state. So these are tuition expenses that we pay to other districts when we have students attending outside of the district, not through the special ed department, but through best interest, or students that are placed in other districts via foster care, at which point they may require additional services that we are responsible to pay for. So last year we were budgeted at $45,000 in this budget line. We did expend that budget line plus some additional funds. I think in the at about $68,000 is what was spent last year. So by raising the budget line from $45,000 to $68,000, we feel it will be able to meet the budgeted need projected forward for that particular expense. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. We'll let you go and then we'll ask questions. Sorry.
The other couple of things that I just wanted to highlight within my budget for this year is that there were some expenses that were in my student services contracted service line that went to pay for the services that we had received through Bill Preble's social emotional support program that was at both the middle school and the high school. That will be wrapping up at the end of this year. So that did free up some funds there. As well as this year, we're doing a CPI, which is a Crisis Prevention Institute Train the Trainer series, so that we can train more of our staff to be trainers, to train staff within the district around crisis prevention and safety with students. And so that freed up about $61,000. I would like to reallocate those funds to provide BCBA supports to students within the elementary system. And these supports would be for both our regular ed and our students that are covered under Section 504. It would really be a two-part plan.
Part of the contracted services would be providing a certain number of hours to each elementary building per month, so about 4 hours per month, where they would come in and consult on student behavioral needs, maybe specific student needs or general, observations across a building. So that would be one piece of the support. The other layer of that support would be to have somebody and both of these supports would be provided by the New England Center for Children, NECC, who we use for some of our specialized programs throughout the district. That second layer of that plan would have somebody come in that would work with our staff, again, to develop some capacity for them to be able to conduct functional behavioral assessments within the building so that we don't have to necessarily always rely on BCBA support. As you know, it can be expensive and it can be difficult to hire BCBAs. So I would see that as being a one-time, one-year projected expense. And then if we were able to build that program within the elementary schools, then we would just pay stipends to staff to be able to do that work in addition to their regular workload. The only other thing that I'd like to highlight is that I was able to, because we are seeing a need for increased professional services in our 504 line, so this would be contracted services for students that might need vision support or hearing support through their 504 plans. I didn't necessarily want to increase and ask for an additional increase in the budget, so I was able to find other places where I could create reductions in budget lines, particularly supply lines and things of that nature, to come up with that additional $5,000 that would be required. Again, that line was overspent last year, so we had to pull from other areas to be able to compensate for those expenses. So, any questions that I can answer?
The LEAs within the state, I know some of that is mandatory when a child is pulled from the home. Are you seeing an increase in LEAs supporting students in other schools because of family situations or just situations within the schools?
So, and I don't know, Justin, you could speak to some of this too, because I think a lot of those decisions kind of come from best interest determinations. I will say from the foster care standpoint, I wouldn't say that number is necessarily increasing.
Okay.
So it would probably the increase in expense is more from students that are going out of district due to best interest determinations because of specialized circumstances.
Okay, and that does not include the special ed piece, correct?
That does not.
Okay.
No, the best interest pathway is available to all students, regardless of their identification or protection under IDEA.
Yep.
Those requests come directly to the superintendent, and that's the RSA and the school board policy gives the superintendent authority to make those decisions. There's also the next phase of that, which is a manifestation of hardship, which would go to the school board, and they are the hearing and they are decider on those things. At both of those occasions, the school board has the authority to govern any tuition payments that are made based on those decisions.
All right. Thank you.
And none of those types of outplacements would fall under what the Department of Health and Human Services is now funding for students that need to be outplaced for outside reasons?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any appeals process through the Department of Health and Human Services?
Through the Health and Human Services, I don't know. Through the manifestation hardship or best interest, yes, there is an appeal process that goes to the State Board of Education as the final determinant.
Are you asking about episode of treatment?
Yeah, I know because some of that funding, the responsibility for funding some outplacements moved to the Department of Health and Human Services last year. So I was sort of wondering if this could be linked or some of these outplacements could be linked to that. No.
When a student is taken or becomes involved with DCYF and goes into the foster care DCYF system from a school district, it is then the responsibility of that school district to pay for any special education supports that student might need over the course of their time when they're within care. So a student could go into care and then be identified in another in another town within which they're living as in need of special education services, and at which point then we're required to pay tuition for those services, regardless of where that student goes.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to accept these for review?
I make a motion to accept the student services proposed FY 26 budget of $300,014 to be under consideration.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other conversation? All those in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ginger.
Now we have facilities. Hello, Dr. Martin.
Good evening. So,
Welcome. I hope the carpet doesn't bug you.
yeah,
She's already
my
been talking
inhaler
about
with me,
it.
I'm all set. For those of you who I haven't met yet, I'm Chris Martin. I'm the Executive Director of Operations and Special Projects. I am not the Facilities Director, and I do not play one on television. However, I have had the pleasure of working closely with our facilities staff since Carl left at the end of September. And Carl left us a draft of a budget. What I did at that point in time was go to the people that do the work and say, what does this look like to you? Does this look like what we need to move forward? Not what we want, but what we need to move forward. It's always been my budgeting philosophy that it should be, out of respect for our communities, it should be a needs-based budget. Needs also include preparing for potential emergencies, and you'll see some of that in our budget. I want to particularly thank Sarah Veer and Al Perry from our grounds division, and Sarah from our custodial division. She's been doing quite a bit with our maintenance staff as well, in addition to our maintenance folks that I met with again yesterday to verify the numbers that I was bringing forward to you this evening. So, excuse me again, let's look at a little bit at the at our drivers. So we are adding, proposing to add $15,000 to the grounds portion of our budget to take care of some irrigation issues that have been haunting us. In regards to water, sewer, and septic, we have a very current example of the need to add to that budget. Sandown North right now has 2 broken septic pumps. And so we are right now pumping septic holding tanks every single day at Sandown North until the pumps are ready, and they should be ready, we hope, in the next 10 to 14 days. But it's an example of some of our infrastructure that we need to be prepared to attend to, so that students don't miss instruction. Same thing with some of the well issues that we've had. We are nursing some of our pump systems that we want to address going forward, and occasionally have the need to hire contracted services providers who are experts in those areas to come in and assist us, again, for the purpose of not having any interruption in instruction. As you know, we have been, as a district prior to my arrival and now working on energy efficiency. So we now have a propane boiler at Danville, which requires the increase of our propane line. But at the same time, we were able to achieve $100,000 savings in budgeting for electricity and lighting due to the HVAC equipment upgrades that we have done. And staff led by Kelly Salovich, Justin's executive assistant, are currently looking at previous billing from previous years and current billing, so that we can show you folks what we hope to have and we believe to have will be savings in that area. Time will tell on that one. I have a huge typographical error in the next area. Those of you who might know what a drain cleaning machine would say to me, what $13,000 is it gold plated and have a diamond cutter? So that should be $3,000 in that area for that particular device. Once again, our infrastructure is aging. We are finding the need to call Ruderman or other vendors to come in and assist when we have backups in our sewer systems. Currently, we have a device that is 50 feet long for a little more cash. We'll have the device that has a 100-foot cable with a great big cutter on the end that will save us the potential interruption in instruction, because obviously we don't want our students in buildings when there are issues like that. And of course, it will save us that our guys are going to be able to do that work themselves. Overall, you'll see the variance of $262,233 in the budget. And we achieved this by, again, as I mentioned, the energy conservation initiatives. We're also foregoing the purchase of a new vehicle this year. Our maintenance folks and grounds folks have vehicles in order to do their work, which is, obviously important because it's not just the campus here at the high school or the middle school. We're off to the other towns. But in talking with the folks that drive those vehicles and take care of those vehicles, with a couple $1,000s in repairs for one of the older vans, where we're not anywhere near at the need of a new vehicle in that fleet. It is questionable for some to think we're not maintaining our replacement cycle, but again, we are this year and hoping to move forward every year with a needs-based budget, not a budget that has a want. And then again, it is many small items. We looked at, for example, the budget that we have for uniforms for our custodians. If that is account 100.2620.290, et cetera, on the very last, on page 1 actually. And you can see in 25 it was voted what we're asking for. In 26 we just never used that entire amount. So that's an example of what we have done with other line items in the budget to build up to that $262,233 figure. And once again, knowing a little bit about facilities and construction materials, replacement materials, et cetera, really looked at this with the folks that do the work, our folks in the field, to make sure that we weren't, as a mother would say, cutting off our nose despite our face. And I'm confident, as they are, that we are. This is a healthy budget to maintain one of our second greatest resources and assets, that being our facilities, and our first, of course, being our staff. So I'm here to entertain any questions you may have.
Any questions? I want to say I appreciate that you talk to the people who are doing the work and we're saying this is just needs-based and you've decreased by quite a bit. And it shows that you went in and you picked away, and I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Again, it's and very quickly, I tell this story all the time. My dad died. I was a little kid, and I've been helping my mother pay her property taxes since I was in high school. So I'm very aware in New Hampshire the burden on folks, and as a budgeter in many different roles, I've always been tried to bring forward a budget that was responsible.
Any questions?
I have one.
Okay.
Thank you. Your line item, it's gonna be 430, it's repair and maintenance. You know, voted in, it was $732,470. You all, looks like 24 actuals was $537,054, and you're proposing to decrease it by $107,000.
Yes.
What, when it says repair and maintenance, what does that all entail?
Can you point me to that one more time,
So-
Katie? And you know, I have a little hearing
Nope, you're fine.
impairment, so.
No, you're fine. It's 430. It says repair and maintenance. I do believe page 5. Yeah, page 5.
So we're talking the general repairs item?
Yeah, repair. Yes, because I'm looking at this
Yes.
Excel spreadsheet that you have in comparison to this.
The variance is $112,000. Is that what you got?
Oh yeah, this one says 107,000.
Yes, I'm sorry. I think I might
No,
have
you're okay.
an older version here.
No, it's okay.
You're asking for detail in that area?
Yeah, just like when it says repair and maintenance, what does repair and maintenance? What does all of that include?
Lisa, I'm sorry, is that anything that you could unpack, looking at
Is
past
every,
pieces or?
It's anything and everything that happens that they're fixing. So it all depends on what breaks. So
Okay.
repair and maintenance, if a pump goes down and we need to get spare parts to fix that pump, that goes under that line. But it's
anything that needs to be repaired goes.
so it's
into
not new, it's not supplies, but it's to fix something we currently have as an asset or to make something work in the district.
So a school needs a toilet. That comes out of
If
that.
they need to fix the toilet.
Fix the toilet.
Yes.
the toilet,
They need to fix a damaged door.
Right.
They need to fix an entryway that's not functioning properly for exit entrance.
And this is actually different than contracted services. So if we had to bring in a contractor to do the work, then it'd be under contracted services versus
Our
us
folks-
buying pieces of things to fix, to
So
make
this
the
is
repairs.
us doing it ourselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Everything that our
Yes.
maintenance guys do to any facility or anything that needs to be repaired.
And you're confident with that reduction?
I am confident in that reduction because the folks that do the work tell me that they can do the work within that parameter.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the actual for 24 was $537,000, 537.54. So there's still a little bit of
Wiggle room.
wiggle room from what we have spent.
I just don't want us to be shortchanged either, because we do have aging buildings.
We have old
Yes.
buildings.
But if you're confident and your people are confident, then okay.
And as superintendent says, budgets are assumptions going forward, and we're making, I think, intelligent assumptions.
Along that same line then, what is this, the employee benefits? That's the first line, 290.
The uniforms.
That's the uniforms. Oh, yep, never mind.
And that is
Okay.
part of their contract.
Yep, I remember that from last year.
With moving, changing boilers and putting in propane, I don't see any reduction in oil, which is sort of surprising to me. Do we just not have the data yet on what that savings would be?
Oil and electric, so the boilers that used to be in the Anvil, they use oil and electric.
Right.
Because we have locked rates in those utilities, you won't see it until the next cycle when we renew.
Got it.
Because we have locked rates for 3 years.
Yeah.
So you will see, and it takes about a year, it's actually about 18 months to actually see the true impact of implementing a new HVAC system or a new boiler or new lighting. So
It'd be interesting to see what the savings is.
like Chris said, that's
Yeah.
where we're working on right now in conjunction with AI. We're looking into what exactly has been, because now is a year of implementing the first lighting systems, changing the lighting systems in the main campus.
Any other questions?
I
Julie?
just had one question regarding the vehicle that's not being replaced. What is there some type of a schedule for replacement of vehicles so that they're not all we don't find ourselves 1 year.
Meeting 5 or 6 at the same
Right, or
time.
is there something set aside for that?
So Maria, if you could help me with that, there was a replacement cycle, and we were interrupting that cycle this year.
Yes, so there is a cycle where every year we have one vehicle replaced every year to prevent having vehicles that are older than 10 to 13 years old. This year, Chris and the superintendent have talked to like Chris said, have talked to our maintenance people who are the employees that utilize these vehicles, and they didn't feel the need to have a vehicle replaced in 2 years. So they decided to go with that. We decided to move forward with interrupting the cycle for this specific year.
And is there money set aside each year toward that for when a vehicle is needed, or when a vehicle's needed, do you just budget for an entirely new vehicle?
Well, this is the line that has the funds for that, which has been budgeted every year, but this year, based on the conversations that the superintendent and Chris had with the maintenance people, they decided that this specific year, we're gonna interrupt the cycle just for 1 year to give a break. They see the opportunity to give a break on that line for 1 year, not necessarily interrupting forever the cycle, but just 1 year of not having the.
And here's what I think it also does, Julie, is, and Chris had talked about it earlier, when we need a vehicle, we're gonna come back and ask for a vehicle, right? This is a year that we just don't feel like we need to make that request. So down the road, if we wanna get back on cycle, it will be a request from us, and we will be adding it to the cycle next year. It's not gonna, it doesn't magically stay there. Is that? kind of
Well,
what
I
you're
just
getting
didn't
at?
know if it was almost like that you would have a fund each year that you put money aside each year,
I think
so
you're
that when you
talking
need a
like-
vehicle.
Like what the towns do,
Towns
like they have
do.
the
Yes.
CIP funds, like for a new fire truck, and every year they allocate to
Exactly.
put so much money, and
So
then every
much.
year it rolls in.
Exactly.
No, they don't do that.
So, and if I may, along those lines, there is something else I did want to say. In the past 3 years, in particular with our grounds division, equipment has been purchased to improve the tools that our grounds people can use to maintain our facilities, our grounds facilities. And this year, we determined that there was not a need to replace any tractor or large lawn equipment or anything of that nature, because it has been, those things have been taken care of in the past 3 years. That does not mean that next year we may not come to you and say, we've had a major equipment breakdown in one of our machines and it's not cost effective for us to repair when we will need to replace. So.
Okay.
Any other questions for Dr.
Make a motion to accept for consideration the facilities budget of $4,790,257.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other conversation? All those in favor? Again, we're good to go.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Pleasure.
Is there any other business? Nothing? Yeah, looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Okay, at 7:54, we are done.